anti-Semitism online. Another question here, they asked about Candace Owens, and I'm a big fan of you. I was a big fan of her, but she's obviously been going down this anti-Semitic bent. And through her, I'm kind of finding out about these other characters online, like Nick, for instance. I'm sure you've heard of him. And these people, they've been active for a long time, and it seems like they've just been ignored, which is working, but now they're kind of surging in popularity. And as someone who, I enjoy watching your debate.
Of course they're surging in popularity. They're talking against the Jews, the evil Jews. That's the trendy thing now. Sneeko also is using the same tactics. Andrew Tate, same tactics. Dan Bilzerian, same tactics.
Are they people you'd be willing to engage with and maybe shut them down in a way through a debate or something like that?
Well, I mean, I'm not going to debate Candace. But no, look, I'll debate anybody that shows up at our campus, and that's first and foremost. But I do want to take what you say and extrapolate it. That there is a corner of the internet of people that want to point and blame the Jews for all their problems. Everybody, this is demonic and it's from the pit of hell. And it should not be tolerated. Period. But it goes to the problem of an entire generation that has economic resentment. They don't own anything. They're not getting married. They're not having children. They're depressed. They're anxious. They're staring at their screens all day long. And if all of a sudden your extrapolation of all that is, well, it's the Jews' fault, that is sloppy and shallow thinking. And not only that, they say, oh, it's the Jews' fault. Okay, let's kind of play this out. Well, tuberculosis, that used to kill about 1 billion people. It's a group of Jewish scientists that came up with the antibiotic that cured tuberculosis. How about CPR, the MRI machine? There's over 500 million lives that were saved over the last 50 years because of people that were Jewish scientists that were working on things. They'll never say thank you to the Jews, but they'll always say shame on the Jews. Weird how that works. And finally, they always blame the Jews for stuff.
That is a pretty good answer, I have to say. If somebody ever blames me of something like this, or the Jews, I'm going to bring up the MRI machines situation and how Jews cured some disgusting and disturbing diseases. Wow, that's crazy. Thank you, Charlie.
Jewish people are an ethnicity. So therefore, definitionally, you have people that are secular, orthodox, religious, that are all over the spectrum. You're trying to blame an entire ethnicity for a singular problem. Hold on, let's take a step back here. Instead of that, what could you possibly do in your own personal life to improve your own state of being? If you are blaming 0.02% of the world population for all of your problems, that is not going to be good for your soul. It's not good for your psychology. It's not good for your future in any way, shape, or form. And so I would just say this, that any young person that goes into this hyper online brain rot, you are serving yourself over to your own demise. You are serving yourself into a suicide mission that will not make you happier and not make you healthier. Instead, here's what your attitude should be. Your attitude should be like, I can't own stuff, I got it, can't own a home, I'm not getting married, I don't know who to date. I said, wow, the challenges are immense. I'm gonna now overcome all those challenges and go on an adventure. I'm gonna prove everyone wrong. I'm now not gonna be a victim, I'm gonna be a victor. I'm gonna dig deep. This is still a great country. This is a free country. I'm gonna use my agency, I'm gonna use my ability, and I'm not just gonna go point in the corner and be like, I'm overweight because of the Jews. Women don't wanna date me because of the Jews. How about this? As Jordan Peterson would say, sit up straight with your shoulders back, follow the rules for life, make yourself interesting, learn something new every single day, and instead of pointing at a small group of people and engaging in this brain rot, become a better person. You'll be a happier and healthier, more joyful and productive person of your life.
Well, hello there, how are you all doing? Right, I said we were going to talk about this last time. Because it is both funny and bizarre, as you could say, and a little hypocritical for the person involved. Not for me. I'm going to talk about Candace Owens and the ever-unfolding fallout from Charlie Kirk's assassination. Because a few things have been coming to light, and ideas around who did it, and for what reasons are constantly evolving and changing and muddying the waters. And it's purposeful. There's a few things that many of you probably don't know about Candace Owens. And Andy and Carol, actually. And it brings a lot of things they do and a lot of things that they say into question. And this is because of their ties to spurious organisations, shall we say. But we'll start with Candace. Now, most of you know who she is. She's a supposedly right-leaning podcaster, famous for making a series on Bridget Macron, or most famous lately about Bridget Macron being a man. And this is something she's been sued for defamation for, which we're not going to get into. That's another story in and of itself, which is kind of hilarious. But she originally started off on the left-hand side of the aisle. Yeah, has had various startups. One of them was a website that doxed basically people on the right, which she called bullies, who were basically opposed to her. And I believe that's illegal in the US, so she had to stop doing that, obviously. She disappeared for a bit and then came back on the right hand side of the aisle, joining up with Charlie Kirk for Turning Point USA, and then going to the Daily Wire and PragerU and other various organisations. She essentially goes where the money is. Yeah, this has been something that a lot of people have been noticing about her lately. It does seem that she follows the money and will advocate for certain fringe ideas and fringe theories that pay the most, basically, that are where most of the audience is. Like she likes clicks, yeah, which is money, essentially. What a lot of people won't know about it is mostly about her husband. Now, her husband is a very interesting guy, very interesting white guy, British guy, part of British aristocracy. His name's George Farmer, and on his own at the moment, he's estimated to be worth £250 million. Just on his own, that he's generated himself from scratch, basically. His father, Baron Michael Farmer, yes, you heard that right, Baron Michael Farmer, and I don't mean Baron in the name, I mean Baron in the title. His father is worth a few billion. Of course, when his elderly father, who's now 80, dies, he will inherit his fortune. Now, this is where things take a very odd turn. You see, Michael Farmer's title is inherited, yeah? And when Michael dies, George will inherit the title of Baron. In order to be a Baron, according to chivalric law, yeah, in the UK and most European kingdoms, in order to be given the title Baron, you need to be a knight. You need to be knighted. Now, that would be fine, right? Most knights, when they join, are just knights. But you have to become part of a chivalric order, right? When you're knighted. Now, chivalric orders are split between nobles or the more exclusive royal. Yeah, so you have your lesser nobility, yeah, noble knights, and you have your upper, yeah, royal appointed knights. Now it's where these royal appointed knights, it's with these it becomes very interesting. Because to be a baron is basically a royal appointed title. You are part of the upper nobility. And most barons in the UK are of one specific order. It's also a Catholic order. If you're Protestant, then you become a part of a different order. But if you're Catholic, which most of the barons are, strangely, right, you become part of the Knights of Malta. The Knights of Malta, for those who don't know, are an order of knights that originate from the 11th century. They're actually a branch of the Hospitaller order of knights, which are Germanic, but the Maltese knights are obviously from Malta. The Knights of Malta and the Hospitallers are the only, one of two, should I say, orders of Crusader Knights that are still left, officially. The other is the which I've mentioned before. Pete Hegseth is a member. He's a knight of them. Well, the Knights of Malta and Hospitallers have a permanent seat on both the WHO and the UN. They're a very, shall we say, dubious organisation. Now, why is this also important? Well, obviously, George is married to Candace Owens. Now, it's strange, when after George met Candace, she suddenly became Catholic. Part of, I've forgotten which Catholic denomination she is. I'll put it across the bottom. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's basically been excommunicated over the past a few decades, which is one problem. The reason why it was excommunicated is because it's linked to Freemasonry. Freemasonry, I use it? Oh, yes. You see, in order for Candace to be George Farmer's wife, right, and George being a Knight of Malta, which is also a Masonic order, it has Masonic ties, right, which they get away with because they're knights. They defend the Catholic realm. But in order for Candace to be his wife, she also needs to be part of the Masons. Now, most of you probably think, well, the Masons are a fraternal order, aren't they? Well, yes, but there is a female, a sisterhood, called the Eastern Stars, yeah? The Order of the Eastern Star. Most Eastern Star members are wives of very high level Freemasons and knights. Yeah? Part of these chivalric orders. It essentially binds them together. And it ties back to, again, the duality that is within Freemasonry, the male and the female, dark and light, etc., etc. Candace can't be trusted. If you put your faith in any of her theories, you're an idiot. And in my next video, we're going to cover Ian Carroll, and then I'm going to tell you why. See you later. After I recorded that earlier, I realised that I didn't actually tell you why I was making this video in the first place. And it's, well, it'll be a short series. Essentially, Ms. Owens has been, like I said, jumping on every single conspiracy bandwagon she can to milk as much money out of this whole sorry affair as she can. Promoting everything from Israel did it to someone was hiding under the ground beneath a trapdoor to shots coming from behind to you name it. Every which way. Now, many will argue that this is cynically to milk as much money as she can from it, and while in some regards, yeah, that's true. In another, it's not. Although that is one benefit that she'll be getting from this, and partly the reason why she's doing it. There's also another reason, and that's to keep the confusion train going. Like I've said on other occasions, and something that came up on this very nice lady's channel, Samantha Starkey, I think her name, the Starkey Homestead channel, a female namesake of mine, another Sam. I'll link her channel below even. But she was talking about the famous quote of when they need a hero, we shall provide one. Well, there's also, as I said before, another part of that quote that saying that no one really seems to acknowledge or know about, I think, most people, and that's that when they need an enemy, we'll provide that too. And this is, again, part of that same sort of dialectic operation where they will pose you with a hero and also an enemy at the same time. And they will continually draw you nearer to that enemy and to that hero by sowing confusion, and as much confusion the better. This is why, you see, I started off by saying that it's funny talking about Candace in this way, but it's, on reflection, get off that. When I've had time to think about it, it's not really funny in a ha-ha sense, it's more funny in a peculiar sense. Charlie was meant to be a friend, and she treated him like this. So as people like Ian Carroll, like Tucker Carlson, although he's slowly diverting his way away from the Ian Carrolls and Candace Owens of this world, and also the Max Blumenthals, who I have literally no respect for. He's an absolutely terrible journalist. But he seems to get promoted quite a lot by the lefty sites. Anyway, come on. As I've said before, the players in this game are our intelligence services. The way they have infiltrated and taken control of these intelligence services is partly through the Gladio program, like I said before. It's a rogue element within them, and the use of chivalric orders, such as the Hegseth is a knight of theirs. They're always involved with intelligence or military in some way. And then you get the Hospitaliers or the Knights of Malta that are integrally embedded within the UN and WHO. The Knights of Malta more on the UN side. The WHO is the Hospitaliers, which is what the Knights of Malta are a branch of. And these have been around since the Crusader era. Once you understand who these people are and what they do, and then you track back to their foundational links within the Nazi Party in a lot of ways as well, through the use of the paperclip program, which didn't just bring scientists across to the US, and this is what a lot of people sort of spend the most time on, really, because they were quite a large sort of contingent of Nazi scientists that were brought across during paperclip. But it wasn't just scientists, it was also intelligence officers and experts, along with propaganda specialists and experts that were also had expertise in psychological warfare as well. And this is where a lot of our sort of modern techniques have come from. This is something that in the next episode, when we look at next video, when we look at Ian Carroll, is what we'll touch on a bit more. Because when you understand where the Carroll family originate and their ties within the Jesuits, all of this that's going on in the Middle East, as well as the assassination of Charlie Kirk, will start to make a lot more sense. Right, see you later.